I'll be using Blender, but the same idea can be done in any other 3D modeling program. I'll be using a simple crate for this tutorial, so my UV maps will be very simple. I've already made a tutorial about UV mapping. The link is in the description. I made a very simple crate using the default cube. For UV unwrapping, I will use a very simple technique. I'll select each of the outer edges and mark the seams. I then unwrap the crate. I can easily straighten all of the UV islands. I select two horizontal vertices and scale them to 0 along the y-axis, repeating this for the other edge. I select two vertical vertices and scale them to 0 along the x-axis, repeating this for the other edge. I select the entire island and then reselect the middle face. I can now right-click and select Follow Active Quads. I turn on the UV sync selection so I can see what faces I'm selecting. I check to make sure the islands are rotated in the correct direction. I select all the islands, and under the UV menu, I choose Pack Islands, deactivating the Rotate option and increasing the margin. I select the crate and export it as an FBX. I import the crate using the Paint UV Mapped Mesh option. I make sure the normal map software preset is set to Blender. The only thing I'll change is activating the Z-Up coordinate system, and this is specific for Blender. Under the texture editor, I can see my UV map. Under the View menu, I turn off the grid. Under the Textures menu, I choose Calculate Occlusion. For the light sources, I'll choose Sphere and Hemisphere. In the header, I'll turn off glossiness and depth. I can use the Fill tool in order to quickly fill the entire crate with a base color. I left-click on the crate to apply the color. I rename the layer to base. I can now see the filled base color on the crate and in the texture editor. I can also make adjustments to the color by going to Textures, Adjust, Hue, Saturation, Lightness. I activate the preview so I can see the changes. I can also use the CMYK option to further adjust the color. I add a new layer and rename it to Boards. I change the black color to a dark brown and swap the color swatches. I choose my hard brush and turn the depth opacity, roughness opacity, and metal opacity to 0%. Using the E key, I change the border width to 0 and choose the rectangle lasso. I hold down my left mouse button and click. While holding down the left mouse button, I use the Shift key to make a straight line. I then change the opacity to 50%. This is just the very basics of how to get started hand painting within 3DCoat Textura. You can also use an external editor for hand painting, but keep in mind it must be able to open Photoshop files. The default external software used for 3DCoat Textura is Photoshop. However, if you want to use another piece of software that can open Photoshop files, you can change the default software. Under your Preferences, under the In and Out tab, you'll see the External 2D Editor option. You can simply change this to point to your software. Just remember, it must be able to open Photoshop files. Take a note as to what island corresponds to which face. To export the Photoshop file, go to Textures, Export All Layers Color. In Photoshop, I can now use the standard brushes or any brushes I have access to hand paint the UV map. I flatten all the new layers and save the file. Back in 3DCoat Textura, I go to Textures, Import All Layers Color. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video about hand painting 3D objects in 3DCoat Textura, you may enjoy this video. Have a good day.